Give me one margarita. Oh, hey, everybody. Well, who turned the microphone on? What's happening? TikTok's a dangerous place. I'll just say that. Give me one margarita. If you know what I'm talking about. Oh man. TikTok's a dangerous place. Hey, welcome to the program. My name is Mark Farzyshow. This is a Farzy Show Friday edition. Thanks for coming along here. Phillies get another no-hit bid going into the eighth inning yesterday. Oh, my goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen. They complete the sweep against the Detroit Tigers. Kody Clemens, that just confirms that you've won the trade. He confirms that you won the trade with the Tigers. We got the Eagles and OTAs wrapping things up at the NovaCare Complex yesterday. Nick Sirianni talked about a wide receiver who has greatly improved from last year at OTAs to this year at OTAs. And you know what? I'm rooting for the guy. Mark me down as someone who is not turning the page on this gentleman, but somebody who is rooting for the guy. Jalen Hurts continues to not only be a guy that I just think will be a perennial MVP candidate, but he continues to be a guy that, like, you know, there's two kinds of kids that'll come over your house to take your daughter on a date, okay? There's the punk. The punk. This punk. He's coming over here to take my daughter on a date, right? And then there's the guy that's just like, oh, what a gentleman. And Jalen Hurts is that gentleman. Jalen Hurts is the guy that's just like, oh hello, Mr. Farzetta. It's very nice to meet you, Mr. Farzetta. Firm handshake, looks you in the eyes, the whole thing. That's Jalen Hurts. And whenever he goes off, and I don't want to call him tangents because that's like a belittling word to the brilliance that he spews, but like when he goes off on these little tangents, if you will, these little soliloquies, there we go. That's a better way to put it. When he goes off on these little soliloquies about the great things that he says about, I had a purpose before anybody had an opinion, things like that. Well, he kind of went off on one of those yesterday talking about last year and how he'll use last year as fuel, but then at the same time forget last year because nobody cares that they made it to a Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl. He also talks about his favorite offseason. It's not an acquisition because the guy was already here, but the gentleman who is still here for at least one more season. He talks about all that. But, folks, also we have Rob Thompson discussing the fact that the Phillies have won 5 in a row. They have swept the Tigers. They took 2 out of 3 against the Washington Nationals. But in the words of Harry Callis, so what? So that's where we're at right now. The Dodgers for 3, the Diamondbacks for 4 in Arizona. Quite the schedule ahead of the Phillies right now. And we will see if the Phillies use these get-right games, get-right series to, in fact, get right against the upper echelon teams in the National League. So that's what we got on today's program. Look forward to discussing it all with you guys today. We'll hear from Nick Sirianni. We'll hear from Jalen Hurts, and we'll hear from Rob Thompson after last night's latest Phillies victory. Yeah, I don't care that it was the Tigers. I don't care that it was the Nationals, as you guys have heard me say. I just care that the Phillies are winning games. That's all that matters. Stack the wins when you can stack the wins. We've talked about many times over the years about when the Phillies missed the playoffs. We've talked many times about the Phillies not being able to beat those bottom-tier teams, not being able to beat a team like the Marlins, for instance, and how that had cost the Phillies in the later games of the season, the later months of the season, in August and September, when the Mets are running away with it or the Braves are running away with it. Those teams are beating the Marlins. And I'll never forget the absolutely incredible baseball writer Jason Stark talking to me once about how the NL East is going to come down to who beats the Marlins. And the Phillies couldn't beat the Marlins. And that's a big reason why they couldn't make it into the playoffs. They would actually, compete against some of the better teams, and then they face the Marlins, and they just go in the tank. So go ahead and beat the Tigers. Go ahead and beat the Nationals, because you're going to need every ounce of these wins in late September when you're giving us those meaningful games and fighting for a playoff spot. And I'm still saying it now, the Phillies are making the playoffs. So go into this series finale against the Detroit Tigers. Gets pushed back a day, as we all know, thanks to the smoke coming in from Canada. Air quality a lot better, by the way. Still feel like crap. I still feel like crap. But anyway, I feel like this smoke being lifted is now just giving us more pollen. I don't know if that makes any sense. But anyway, that's how I feel. But they open up this series against the Tigers. You're thinking, all right, you just took 2 or 3 from the Nationals. Now have a horrible hitting team. If anybody is going to get right, it's going to be the Phillies' arms against this terrible Detroit Tigers pitching staff. Or excuse me, lineup. So you go into this game yesterday looking to complete the sweep. Now, I had a good feeling going into this start for Zack Wheeler, whether the start be 2 days ago or yesterday. I thought with Ranger Suarez being on point, I thought with Aaron Nola being on point, Taijuan Walker being on point, in their last 3 Phillies starts, I thought that Zack Wheeler was going to continue the momentum. And Rob Thompson even alluded to this after the game. He actually flat out said it. When your starting pitchers are pitching well, nobody wants to be the letdown guy. Nobody. Like, you always have guys that'll be bad, and then everybody wants to be the stopper. Well, in this case, everyone's doing well, and you want to have somebody continue that. You want to have somebody bridge the gap to the next guy who's going to have a good start. You don't want to be the lull in between. And I just thought after Zack Wheeler was so terrible against the Washington Nationals, only going 3 2/3 in that start, I just thought he had a bounce-back performance in him. So Suarez goes 7 innings, 1 earned run. Or it should be 1 run. 1 earned run. Yeah, it was 1 earned run. Nola goes out there with his incredible performance, no earned runs, over 7 innings, takes a no-hitter into the 7th inning there, which is incredible. Maton finally got him in the 3-run home run, but again, unearned. Then you have a guy like Taijuan Walker go out there and have the start of the century for him, going up as a member of the Phillies, that is. Just dominates. And then you have Zack Wheeler get the ball. Now, he got the ball after the 3 previous starters went at least 7 innings and allowed 1 earned run or less. He also had a guy like Taijuan Walker in the start before him take a no-hitter into the 5th inning, and the start before that, Aaron Nola took his no-hitter into the 7th inning. So Zack Wheeler goes out there yesterday and dominated. Absolutely dominated. I told you guys after the 2 previous starts that every major league pitcher has that one pitch that helped get them to where they are in the big leagues, that one out pitch in particular. Now, the great ones, they got multiple pitches. And yesterday, oh my goodness gracious, Zack Wheeler had everything working for him. The thing that got him up here was simple. Life on a 4-seam fastball. Not just velocity, but life, movement. And man, did he have movement on it yesterday. It was in some cases a rising fastball, and some pollen, man. In some cases, it was a sinking fastball, but there were multiple occasions where he was able to get guys out on the high heat. There was occasions where he got guys on the corners. There was occasions where he threw the sweeper and just had guys flailing at it in a full count, throwing the hook in a situation like that, getting guys to swing at balls in the dirt. He was great yesterday with 8 strikeouts through his outing yesterday, and of course taking that no-hitter in the 8th inning. He had everything working for him. We'll go through the play-by-play in a second to really break it down, but every pitch that he threw, he had pinpoint accuracy on, and he kept guys off balance. He had quick innings when he needed quick innings, and I was looking at it in I believe it was the 6th inning, as an opportunity to see a guy like Zack Wheeler really be able to bridge the gap from maybe he's got a no-hitter to, oh my God, he's got a no-hitter. So you look at this game as it was falling into place yesterday, and he had that 9-pitch inning that I believe came in the 6th, and it put him in 82 pitches. And I'm thinking, okay, he can do it. This is it. He had a quick inning. He needed a quick inning. He started off 1 inning by throwing 6 strikes and got 2 strikeouts. So he was on his way to almost an immaculate inning there. So as the game went on, it started to build. More confidence started to build. It started to watch the pitch clock or pitch count a little bit more. Where is he at when it came to that? And he goes into that 8th inning. And this is where things really got real, because the Phillies had grabbed him a lead, albeit a small lead. But he goes into that 8th inning, and you start to get a little nervous. As my notes don't want to load, but here they are eventually, right? Yes, no, please. Sorry, a little technical difficulty here on the Farzy show. Goes into that 8th inning. And he's starting out at 100 pitches. Phillies have that 1-0 lead thanks to the Bryce Harper RBI sac fly to left field. In the 8th inning, starts out at 100 pitches, gets the first out on 2 pitches. He gets Badudo to ground out to Bryce's side at second. Then, I can't believe it, the throwing error by Josh Harrison, who was getting the start at third base yesterday. Jonathan Scope goes up to the plate, hits a bouncer to third. Harrison charges the ball beautifully, picks it cleanly, and then I don't know if he felt like he had to rush the throw or what, makes the transfer clean, it looked like, fires to first, and it one hops to Kody Clemens, who can't corral the baseball. Throwing error is charged to Josh Harrison. There was never a doubt that they were going to – I didn't think they were going to give Scope the hit there, so I knew the no-hitter was going to stay intact. But now you're driving his pitch count up to about 105 pitches. So you're thinking, okay, all right, this is – maybe you get a double play here, maybe you get a double play. You don't get a double play. Instead, Nevin drives it into right field for the first hit of the game. Now runners at first and third with one out. So now it goes to, oh, you lost the no-hitter. Please don't lose the game. Wheeler goes out. Dominguez comes in. Short rips a single into right field. Rips a single. Lays down the bunt. I don't know what Bryson Stott was doing on this play. Crucker made the assumption, said, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if this is what he's doing, but he could have thought that the bunt, which did bounce high, was going to go over the head of Dominguez, the pitcher, and he was going to have a play on the baseball there. He did not. Run scores from third. You're now having a tie ball game. Phillies, essentially, defensively speaking, got caught with their pants down. Then McKinstry goes up there. He grounds into the 1-6-3 double play, and you're out of the inning. But that's where it ended for Zack Wheeler. But as you go through this game leading up to the point, we'll get to the walk-off in a second, but going through this game, he has the 1-2-3 first inning, obviously. Baez strikes out on the fastball. Then Torkelson goes up there looking at an inside fastball. He just dusted the corner with. It was beautiful. Doesn't get any support, as we know, in the second inning. Nick Maton goes up there. He strikes out on 3 pitches. This is the inning that he was dominant. Goes up there, strikes out Maton on 3 pitches, strikes out Haas on 3 pitches, and then he walks Badu. 3-2 count, questionable check swing. I don't think he went. And then Scope ends up striking out as well in the high fastball. So game goes on, just dominant throughout the entire time. One cool moment in the third inning. In the bottom of the third inning, after another 1-2-3, top of the inning, in the bottom of the third inning, Marsh struck out with a slider in the dirt. Then Kody Clemens steps to the plate. Now, what was cool about this was while he's at the plate, his dad, Roger Clemens, is in the booth. And he's talking about how his kids won't talk to him about hitting because he doesn't know anything about hitting. And he's giving you great stories. He's telling you about Rob Thompson as a bench coach with the Yankees, how great Rob Thompson was, and how he never saw anyone work harder behind the scenes and created relationships with players and developed players and talked to veterans. And the guy just did it all. He said behind the scenes, he doesn't think he's seen anyone work harder than Rob Thompson, which is just a nice thing to hear about the guy that is in charge of your ball club now. While Roger Clemens is in the booth, Kody Clemens is in the batter's box. He hits a single up the middle for a base hit. Later in the game, this was really cool. T-Mac and Kruk presented Roger Clemens with the baseball that Kody Clemens had just hit. I thought that's just an awesome thing. The game goes on. Harper ends up having another close call there when it came to a home run. Just smacked a slider, a hanging slider foul down the right field line. Just hooked foul, but it would have been a monster hit. And it was a 10-pitch at bat. He ended up striking out that at bat in the 4th inning. In the 5th inning, Haas strikes out of the high fastball from Wheeler. Badu ends up popping out to Harrison at third base. Scope goes up there and strikes out, chasing a curveball. An example of Zack Wheeler using everything yesterday. It gets into that 5th inning, striking out Scope on the curveball there. Go to the 6th inning now. Nevin flies out to center field. Short pops out to Harrison at third. McKinstry flies out to right field. A 9-pitch inning for Zack Wheeler at 82 pitches in the 6th inning, thinking he could really do it. Things come off. The wheels come off, unfortunately, in the 8th. They end up tying the game. They end up going up 2-1. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? When it comes to this Phillies team, especially going into that 9th inning, where they were able to get another run on Kimbrel, who just didn't. Rob Thompson said he had some good stuff. I don't think he did. He wasn't throwing strikes. So I don't think a guy that can't throw strikes is having his best stuff out there. You want to talk about life? Sure. Location? Not so much yesterday. So not a good outing there for Craig Kimbrel. He had 28 pitches, I think it was, in the 9th inning and allowed a run. So you get out of that top of the 9th inning. You're now trailing 2-1. You know you got Bryce Harper coming up in the 9th inning. And if there's anyone I don't doubt ever in terms of hustle or want to, it's Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper goes up there. First pitch he sees, lines a ball to right field off the wall, busted around first, makes it into second. Now, it was an errant throw. He probably would have been safe anyway. But he busted around first, gets to second, and he gets the double to lead things off. Trey Turner works the walkie out runners at first and second with nobody out. Real Muto, unfortunately, strikes out on a full count, chasing a sinker in the dirt. Stott goes up there, gets the infield single. That was a crazy play because Harper's at second base when Stott comes up there with one out. First and second, one out. Stott hits the ground ball to Baez at short. Baez makes a great hustle play to cut it off from not going into the outfield. Harper has to slam on the brakes because he's busting it around. He's busting it off second base to round third to score, thinking that ball is going to go into the outfield. Dusty Watkins probably yelling, "He's got it! He's got it! Hold on!" Harper has to hold up there. Almost turns his ankle going over third base, but he didn't, fortunately. Brandon Marsh then puts a line drive into left field to the warning track, scoring Bryce Harper on the sac fly to left. And then Kody Clemens gets up there with the walk-off RBI single. Should have been a double, but, I mean, the run scored, so that was that. And the Phillies get their win. You have seen the pitching dominate. I hate to call it clutch, but if Kyle Schwarber hits that home run that he hit 2 days ago, if he hits that in the ninth inning, then that's pretty clutch, breaking a 0-0 score. But he hit it in the first inning, so it doesn't really look all that clutch. But the Phillies' bats have left a lot to be desired. The bullpen's been pretty good. The starting staff has been pretty good. So what does Rob Thompson want to see next? Here's Rob Thompson after the game talking about what this team needs to do against the Dodgers and then the Diamondbacks.
Well, our starting pitching's been good. Our bullpen's been excellent. Just continue to swing the bats. Continue to grind out at bats, long at bats, get into bullpens early, score runs.
All that works. I like all of it. Yes, please do that. I'm done with Trey Turner as a cleanup guy. I know he had the 4 for 5 day the other day. It was great. 2 home runs. That's great. I don't know. I'm tired of the maybes surrounding Trey Turner. But yesterday, with all that was going well for the Phillies, Trey Turner left a lot to be desired. He did work a walk later in the game, which is nice. But I still need more from my man, Trey Turner. It was a tough one to watch yesterday. 2 separate 2-pitch at-bats that did not end well for Trey Turner. And I'm just seeing a lot more of the same. This hasn't been some magical turnaround. He had a good game. He had his first 4-hit game as a member of the Phillies. It had been a year since he had his last 4-hit game. I don't see how you could justify him as a cleanup guy. Now, when it comes to making a lineup adjustment, you can't just keep jerking the guy around and moving him up and down in the order or whatever. But I guess after this Dodgers series, you're going to go on the road and you got to make a trade. If he doesn't break out of it against the Dodgers, his former club over the weekend series, then I think you got to make another adjustment. Schwarber hasn't been phenomenal as a leadoff guy. He seems to be most comfortable there. I still don't like him in that spot. But look, the Phillies have won 5 in a row. If they continue to win, then the lineup is going to stay the same. I don't like the lineup. I've never liked the lineup. But if the lineup produces runs, then you got to stick with the lineup. Over the last 2 games, you really haven't produced runs. You have not been producing runs. There's 4 runs now in the last 2 games. That's really nothing worth bragging about. You're going to need a lot more than that against the Dodgers. And hopefully the Phillies will be able to do that. But how am I supposed to have confidence when your leadoff hitter, or excuse me, when your 4-hole hitter, your cleanup guy is batting .237 with a .282 on base percentage? I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I mean, Nick Castellanos actually came up with a big hit yesterday, too. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Nick Castellanos continue to hit. I actually thought he was going to be able to work a double out of that single, but he had decided to stay at first. I think being thrown out, I think it was in Washington on that, trying to stretch the single into a double. Maybe he's got him a little shell-shocked right now. But you're seeing him continue to hit. I think you can put him anywhere in the lineup. I still think Brandon Marsh deserves a higher spot in this order. Hopefully you get Bone back in the next couple of days. Maybe you move him into the 2-hole. I don't know, move Castellanos down. But I just don't see any justification for Trey Turner staying in the top 5 hitters in this lineup. $300 million, I don't care. If he moves down the order, he starts hitting again, he gets hot. Oh, then you definitely want that speed at the top of the order. But cleanup? Not so much. Not so much. Phillies are back at it against the Dodgers tonight. 7:05 start time. You'll see Ranger Suarez back on the hill. We avoid the bullpen game. Hooray! Either way, yesterday was supposed to be the off day. Of course, they pushed the Tigers game to yesterday because of the smoke, and we'll go from here. But love seeing what I saw for the Phillies' arms over the last 4 games, and hopefully they keep it. I tried finding it. I don't know. I don't know the last time you saw 4 consecutive Phillies starting pitchers go at least 7 innings and allow at 1 earned run or less. I can't remember the last time I've seen that. Like, just my mind jumps to the 4 aces. Maybe they did it once that year, but I know that year they had a lot of injuries as well. I can't remember the last time I saw 4 Phillies starting pitchers do it. And that discounts the bullpen game that they had in game 2 of the National Series. That discounts that game. So you've had 5 pitching performances over the last 5 games that have been pretty dominant. But 4 starting pitchers going at least 7 innings, allowing 1 earned run or less, that's pretty damn impressive. Pretty damn impressive. At least 7 innings, of course. So Phillies and Dodgers, they'll kick off that series. Phillies now 2 games under 500. 7:05 start time tonight. Ranger Suarez will get the start against the right-handed pitcher. Michael Grove will go for the Dodgers coming off a rough outing. We'll get to that more in the morning rush. The Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, commenced OTAs yesterday. They were in the bubble for most of this, considering what's going on outside with all that smoke, literally. And there's been a lot of talk about last year and how the Eagles are going to respond. Are they going to be one of those teams that has the Super Bowl hangover where they're overly loyal to guys that help get them there, but they don't want to move on from certain guys, certain positions? I don't see anybody really that I want to move on from at any position. There's guys I'm looking forward to seeing play. I'm looking forward to Kobe Dean at linebacker. I'm looking forward to Nicholas Morrow as outside linebacker. I'm looking forward to see what those guys can do. I'm so curious what happens with the safety position, but there's nobody that I'm looking to just push aside and say, well, I'm done with you. You got nothing left in the tank, but they're still going to give you reps. I'm not looking at Jason Kelce like that. After what we heard yesterday from Lane Johnson, I'm not looking at Lane Johnson like that, or 2 days ago from Lane Johnson. I'm not looking at him like that. It's all about the younger guys stepping into bigger roles and showing that they're ready for that spot, and I got confidence that they are, especially in the offensive line with a guy like Jeff Stoutland. Defensively speaking, I'm curious to see what Sean Desai does, and I'm curious to see how this defensive line does with a lot of the young Bulldogs out there. So curiosity is definitely there, but there's nobody I'm looking at saying, all right, this guy is too long in the tooth. He's done. Jason Kelce still played at Pro Bowl level last year. I'm not looking at Jason Kelce like he's hanging on a little too much. I feel really confident about this team. Other teams that have had, gotten close to the promised land of winning a Super Bowl and then not winning that Super Bowl and falling short of the playoffs and having one of those years where just nothing goes right, that's just a hard thing for me to wrap my head around. The only way it happens, in all honesty, and this is excluding injury, the only way I think the Eagles have that Super Bowl hangover is if the coaches that they hired to take over in the positions, whether it be Brian Johnson on offense as the new offensive coordinator and new play caller, by the way, and Sean Desai as your new defensive coordinator are well in over their heads. And they're not ready. And then by middle of the season at the latest, you got Brian Johnson not calling plays anymore and Nick Sirianni being heavily involved in what the defense is doing. That's the only way I really see this going downhill. And I'm not even going to talk about injuries because then it's like you're putting that out in the air. And I'm not doing that. That's the only way I really see it. I think Jalen Hurts is going to perform at a very high level. I think the offensive line is going to perform at a very high level. I think this defensive line is going to be not 72 sack worthy, but I think they're going to be pretty damn good. The safety position is definitely has me concerned. I used the word curious earlier when talking about some other positions. But when I have curiosity there, I am pretty confident. When I talk about the secondary, I don't use curious. I'll use concerned when it comes to what's going to happen at the safety position. I still think the Eagles need to make another move. I'd love to look at Sidney Brown and say, he's got it. The rookie's going to be out there patrolling. Be the deepest man on the field. He's going to be aggressive at the line of scrimmage. This guy's going to be great. I'd love to be able to say that, but I don't know. I can't give you an honest Thurman Edwards. I can't look at him and be like, oh, this guy, he's totally got this. I wish I could say that. But it's a huge concern when you have unknown and then Reed Blankenship. And I like Reed Blankenship. It's going to be a big test year for him, of course. After I thought a great rookie campaign, put Aaron Rodgers in his book, made a big stop on Saquon Barkley in the playoffs, nonetheless. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what he does. I got some confidence in Reed Blankenship because I think he's a guy that does not shy away from the moment. If he struggles, it'll just be because he's not good enough. I don't think it's going to be anything. I don't think it's going to be because anything between the ears. And I don't think he is going to struggle. I think he is going to be a solid safety in this Eagles secondary. But the other spot, I have a lot of questions about. And there, I have concern. Now, what I really liked yesterday, let's start it off with the head coach yesterday. What I really liked hearing from Nick Sirianni was talking about guys that have improved. And it's shorts, it's shells. So how much can you really see a guy improve? Well, he did single out one player. He made a broad statement talking about how guys, he's seen improvement in a lot of guys in OTAs and a lot of guys you could really tell put in the work between the end of the Super Bowl to now to be ready for their first run of practices before training camp starts and all that stuff. Well, one guy did stick out to him. It was Jeff McClain of the Inquirer that asked him the question, anybody in particular stick out? And there was one player that I was teasing earlier in the show that did stick out to Nick Sirianni, and here's what he had to say about Quez Watkins.
A lot of guys are standing out to me. I really, and I have no problem singling one guy out that I think's just done a phenomenal job this offseason is Quez Watkins. I think I love his attitude of, and I've said this to him, and I have no problem saying it here. Like, oh, you guys, some people around here, and it's not in this building. We got a ton of confidence in Quez Watkins, but I kind of sense from him. He's never said this, but I kind of sense, oh, some people think I stink. Wait. And that's how he's attacked every day. That's how he's attacked practices. And I really think that he looks really good. And we know he's got a lot of talent, and that I'm excited about that. And I really like the way he's went about his business because he can't control anything but what he can control. And he can't control what other people think about him. He can't control anything like that. He can't control things that may have happened to him last year, the opportunities that he got last year or did not get. All he controls how he works, and I'm really been excited about how he's went about his business.
The fumble against Washington, struggling in Indianapolis, it was not a great year for Quez Watkins when he had an opportunity there to show that he could solidify a third wide receiver spot. There was a history with Zach Pascal and Nick Sirianni, and he said, to hell with that. I'm going to go out. I'm going to have myself a good year. He did not have a great year. Decent as a third wide receiver. But now he's got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith primed, ready to go with their MVP caliber quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And now you got Zacchaeus out here now as well in the trade they made with Atlanta, or the signing they made with Atlanta, or from Atlanta. He's got competition there again, like he had competition last year with Zach Pascal. He's going to have to take the bull by the horns and really carve out a spot in this offense, because this is a stacked offense. Think about what's on the docket for Quez Watkins going into this year. You have direct competition for the number 3 spot with Zacchaeus. Then you have the two top guys that are going to get a lot of targets in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Goes without saying. And you got a tight end that everyone just seems to forget about in Dallas Goedert, who's a pretty good tight end. I really like Dallas Goedert. He would have been a Pro Bowler last year if he didn't get hurt, okay? Then you got a running back room that, holy pots and pans. DeAndre Swift's going to be catching a lot of passes. Then you got Kenny Gainwell, who can also catch the ball out of the backfield. Rashad Penny stays healthy. You're going to be feeling a lot better about this Eagles running back room. You have a stacked offense here. So first step for Quez Watkins is beating the guy that's competing for his spot, which is the third wide receiver on this team. And then after that, showing and getting trust from your quarterback and your play caller, then you could be the guy to come up with a big play in a big moment. Oh, and also, if it's not even a big moment, if it's just the beginning parts of the game, early in a game, you can still have a play or two dialed up for yourself. That's what's in front of Quez Watkins right now. So hearing that he's here's the thing. This is where the detractors can say, oh, well, what's he going to say? I'll tell you, somebody else's name. The entire team was at OTAs. Nick Sirianni talked generally about the team improving and working hard and everyone showing up and all that stuff. He was asked if anyone stuck out to him. He could have mentioned anybody else or say, I don't want to single anybody out. But he goes, I don't got a problem singling anybody out. Quez Watkins. So for the people that are like, well, what's he going to say? He sucks? No, of course not. But if he on his own is saying, well, yeah, no, I'll answer that. Sure. Quez Watkins. And that's the one name that he mentions. He also goes on with it. Well, everyone's improved. Everyone looks good. I'm happy with everybody. That's great. But Quez Watkins was the name. Of everybody, Quez Watkins is the guy that he singled out. For me, I love that. Absolutely. I love that the coach is willing to say it. And I love that Quez Watkins earned that comment from his head coach. Now let's talk about the man that everybody wants to talk about, and that's Jalen Hurts. I'm telling you, all the niceties you can say about Jalen Hurts, the thing I love the most is, well, one, he's really good. The other thing is the work ethic. Like, I don't look at Jalen Hurts. This is why I always say, and I said this when I was on Sports Take with Gunner 2 days ago, and I saw Jacob Media put this out there as well in the social media. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, I don't look at anyone else. And the name that Gunner brought up was interesting in Bryce Harper. But Bryce Harper, I feel like in baseball, when you give those huge contracts, you've really seen the product unfold already, the player unfold already. You've seen a lot of years before that big contract hits. In football, it's like you got to make a decision a lot sooner. In baseball, you can have like 8 years with a guy before you got to pay him anything substantial. In football, it's like, you got like maybe 3. Well, in Jalen Hurts' case, 3. So I've never been more confident in a player earning his contract more than I've been confident in Jalen Hurts signing the contract that he signed here in Philadelphia. So I love it because he's got talent and a hell of a work ethic, and the guy's never going to stop working. But one of the things we talk about, in other sports, we've talked about this with Tyrese Maxey, and that ceiling. What's the ceiling? How high can that ceiling be? Well, we've talked a lot about with Jalen Hurts as well. How high can that ceiling be? We've seen a big jump from year 1 as a starter to year 2 as a starter. Now what's year 2 to year 3? What's that jump going to look like as a starter? Is there even that much room there for the ceiling? How high is that ceiling? Are we getting to a point where he's just banging his head against that ceiling and got to raise it 10 more feet, whatever it is? So Nick Sirianni talked about that yesterday when it came to Jalen Hurts' improvement. Has he seen improvement from OTAs last year to OTAs this year with Jalen Hurts? Here's what the coach had to say.
Jalen may be the most coachable person I've ever been around in my life. He's just always looking to get better. Now, that's our job as coaches, to make sure we're feeding him good information. He's so coachable. Like, he just keeps getting, he just keeps getting better, and he keeps getting better, and he keeps getting better. And so I see another jump in everything that he's done with the accuracy, with the decision making. We're doing 7 on 7, so there is no rush. So there's no pass rush except for the guys that are walking at him with the bags. But Peter, our equipment manager, is not going to make a sack on him in that particular case. But but I do see his development continuing, and that's why we talk about with Jalen all the time. I don't know what his ceiling is because he just keeps getting better, and he's gonna continue to do that.
I look at a guy like that just wants to put the work in the offseason. We'll get to Jalen Hurts' comments, but one of the things Jalen Hurts did talk about was getting the guys together again for a little quarterback wide receiver camp, through the rest of the summer before training camp starts up. So I just respect the hell out of that. The guy's just not going to be satisfied. And the coaches, I think, aren't going to be satisfied either. And maybe I'm alone in this because it is such a different scenario, and I acknowledge it's a different scenario. There might be one scar left over from Carson Wentz's time in Philadelphia. And that was after John DeFilippo was the quarterback's coach and then got hired as an offensive coordinator in Minnesota, if memory serves me correctly. Minnesota? Yeah. Carson didn't have that hard coaching anymore. John DeFilippo was gone. Frank Reich was gone. And then they hired Press Taylor, who became boys with Carson Wentz. And the talk was that he didn't have that hard coaching that he once had with either Frank Reich or John DeFilippo. So now Jalen Hurts is going from a guy like Shane Steichen as his offensive coordinator and Brian Johnson as his quarterback coach. He's going from that to now Brian Johnson as his offensive coordinator. Will he get that tough coaching still? That's a question and a scar left over, albeit a small scar from the Carson Wentz era and how that epically came down. Very different characters involved in all of this, but the biggest difference is the fact that Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. Now, I look at a guy like Jalen Hurts is one of the most mentally tough athletes ever to roll through Philadelphia. And I look at what the coaches are saying about him, whether it's Brian Johnson or Nick Sirianni. He's talking about right there how Jalen Hurts is maybe the most coachable player he's ever had. And he loves to be coached. And that's something that's been said about Jalen Hurts for his first 3 years in the NFL. He absolutely loves to be coached. It's not you can't tell me anything. I know everything. Those guys are terrible to coach. Nobody wants those guys in the same room. Nobody wants those guys on their squad. But Jalen Hurts apparently just keeps thirsting for knowledge. And that's it's an incredible thing when it comes to a starting quarterback in the NFL that's already been up there with the MVP conversation, already been to a Super Bowl, and just signed a mega huge Kajunga deal. What did Jason Kelce say? He's a bevy of commas. What was the word? That's the only thing different about Jalen Hurts. He's a bevy of commas. An aura of commas, I think is the word to use. All right, that's the man right there, Nick Sirianni, talking about Jalen Hurts. Now here's Jalen Hurts on what stood out from him from last year to this year with OTAs, not just with him, but his team.
It was really good to get everybody together, meet the new guys, and kind of start from ground one again, I think at this time of the year, thinking about it holistically, last year is over, and anything that we were able to do last year, I've said this, every offseason, to be honest. I remember when I went to Oklahoma specifically, I talked about that, and, nothing prior, nothing that's been done prior will get us to where we want to be now. There are a ton of experiences that we've definitely documented and deposited in the bank, if you will, to learn from, and we will learn from and have learned from. But, it's a day-by-day thing. It's a day-by-day thing, and I think everybody's taking that approach. And, we're excited to just kind of continue that progression.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's your quarterback talking about everybody being on the same page. And last year was last year. Ball it up, throw it out the window. This year is this year. Now, the very next question was, well, no, hold on a minute. Before you throw out a Super Bowl year, there's got to be some things that you take away from it. What are those things? Because, look, let's look at it. We talk about a ceiling. Let's get rid of that buzzword for a second, and let's just talk about overall potential. And what went wrong last year? Where is there room for improvement? If you're looking at this as an Eagles fan, well, you know what the improvement is. You got to a Super Bowl. How about winning the Super Bowl? You got close to being an MVP. How about being the MVP? Second place in those two categories. One, overall as a team, and I'm not saying it's Jalen Hurts' fault at all, but when you talk about MVP, yeah, maybe go be the MVP. Why not raise that bar? And that's what I think Jalen Hurts is really good at, is the mental approach to this game, is looking at the little things. He talked about the details yesterday. It's so important to have those details down. Well, might be a small detail from first to second, but if it's a small detail, it's still detail nonetheless. You got to pay attention to make sure you get to number one. I think this guy's got it. I think we're going to see him win an MVP award in his career here in Philadelphia, and I think he'll be a perennial MVP contender. I think he's got the team around him right now to do it. I think he's got an offensive line with guys that are ready and waiting to take over, that'll be ready to take over when their time comes. Cam Jurgens is the perfect example of that. Hopefully Tyler Steen down the line as well as a tackle on this team, because I think that's his future. I think guard is more of a need right now. And if he's versatile enough a player to do it, then maybe he'll do it. But I think you got a young enough squad around you with your wide receivers, with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and what you have in the backfield right now. I think offensively speaking, you're going to have a guy that's going to be competing for an MVP award for the foreseeable future. The trick is going to be Howie Roseman keeping this team together, Howie Roseman keeping this team stocked and ready to make Super Bowl runs. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, if you're looking for improvement, well, yeah, then maybe instead of runner-up to MVP. Maybe instead of runner-up to the champion, you're the champion. Those are two things you can certainly look at. And I think most Eagles fans are looking at that. But they're pretty happy with what they have right now. We're in the it's not even a honeymoon stage. It's the you still feel like the best is yet to come. I know I talked about that with the Sixers. Like, I talked about how the Sixers loss in Game 7 stuck with me longer than the Super Bowl. It still is with me. God, that's pathetic. I am pathetic. But it's still with me. Because the Eagles, you feel like, because of Jalen Hurts, you feel like you're just at the beginning. The Sixers, you feel like you're still at the end. Hopefully this offseason changes my mind for them. Going on here with Jalen Hurts. This is where, now we just talked about last year to this year. All right, throw all that out the window. That was last year. All right, well, just hold on a minute. How does last year help fuel you to be a better quarterback? Here's Jalen Hurts on that.
Everything, man, everything. It depends on what type of competitor you are. It doesn't take much to fuel me and motivate me, and I think it's about the type of competitor you are that, obviously everyone wants to go out there and they want to be the best. That's what we work for. That's what we try and be intentional towards in doing that, but it's a steep price you have to pay to do that. So as a team, as an organization, everybody in this building, it's about learning from every experience that we've experienced. That's every day in practice, every team that we've played, things of the past, whatever it is, if you can apply it to your, to where you are in the moment and kind of change your future, determine what you want to do, you do that, and that comes from hard work and preparation. So.
And I have no doubt that he'll put in that hard work and preparation as the season comes up, especially with that little sleepover that they're going to have, most likely. Him and the Eagles wide receivers, and just throw the football around and make sure everybody's on the same page before training camp begins. Last thing from Jalen Hurts' press conference yesterday, and I absolutely love this. Zach Berman of The Athletic asked him about offseason acquisitions. DeAndre Swift being one of them. When you look at the draft, bringing in guys to help you win now, right? All the acquisitions, all that stuff. Zacchaeus coming in here, all that stuff. What about the offseason acquisitions really stood out to you? And I love this answer.
What do you about the offseason moves and the changes to the roster?
Kelsey's back. That stood out.
That's perfect. I got my center back. That's all that matters. Team leader, emotional man. Jason Kelsey's back. He'll be the man I'll be under center with. So there you go. And I think a lot of Philadelphians feel very similarly to that. Let me tell you about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. For over 40 years, Steven Singer has been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people get engaged and fall in love. Steven Singer Jewelers is home of the perfect price. What's the perfect price? Well, other jewelers are marking things way up just to mark them down a couple of bucks, make you feel like you won something. Steven Singer keeps them marked down permanently. So when you walk in there, you don't have to worry about negotiating or haggling or that pressure of all that. You just worry about what beautiful piece of dazzling diamond jewelry you want to buy at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. And you get treated like a real family member. What could be better than that? Nothing. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. How about the amazing people at Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming? Join 4 million men worldwide who use and trust Manscaped. You can get their Platinum Package 4.0, which is their biggest and best hygiene bundle yet. It includes their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, they come with skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks, so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So try Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. They grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State. So if you like CBD, if you use CBD, you want to try CBD, why not help a local product? Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll love the tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get to the chat check, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my goodness gracious. We're going to do something incredible right here. We're going to start it off on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. I happened to glance during one of the cuts I was playing here at the old Twitterverse, right? And Jim Ort hits us up on Twitter saying, Hurts' improvement from year 2 to year 3 was astonishing. He grew so much in that offseason by increasing his situational awareness. Beautiful. The decision-making and checkdowns were vastly improved. He didn't hold on to the ball, and when there was nothing, he threw it away. Can't wait for this year. Jim, I agree. If I'm looking at improvements, and I know completion percentage isn't totally up to the quarterback. You can have drops and all that stuff, and you can be throwing the ball away and all that stuff. But completion percentage for him last year for Jalen Hurts was he clocked in at 66.5. All right. Geno Smith led the NFL with 69.8. Joe Burrow was 68.3. Justin Herbert, 68.2. Matthew Stafford, 68 flat. Jimmy Garoppolo, 67.2. Daniel Jones, 67.2. Patrick Mahomes, the MVP of the league, was 7th in the NFL in completion percentage. I bring all this up because I know a lot of people are going to talk about completion percentage and bumping that up. Sure, I'd rather him have a higher completion percentage. But if Patrick Mahomes is 7th in the category, I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, it would be nice. Crack the top 10, sure. When it comes to throwing the football, I would love to see more throwing and passing touchdowns, of course, from Jalen Hurts. It's not a necessity. You account for 35 touchdowns. That's pretty damn good no matter how you do it. I do want to keep him healthy. The fewer hits he takes, and I understand in the pocket is when a lot of the bad injuries happen. I'm not denying that. But also, you get blindsided when you're running out there. And he usually gets out of bounds. He usually slides. He's usually really smart like that. So it's not a huge concern. But if we're talking about little tweaks in his game, little things to improve in his game, yeah, okay, fine. I'd like to see him run less. But if it's there, he takes it. And if he does run, I want to see not just most of the time, but all the time. He slides or gets out of bounds. Or if he's going to take a big hit when he's scrambling, buying time behind the line of scrimmage, get rid of the football. Little things. And he does this most of the time. Now I'd like to see it for the vast majority of the time, if not all the time. Again, we're talking about tweaks here, folks. We're talking about tweaks. Jake, I'm on the Jake and Media YouTube channel. Get you guys going now with the chat check. And thank you. Hold on. Let me get it one more time because it was a fun name to say. Jim Ort. Thank you, Jim. Kavai Jones. I believe I'm saying that right. Important game today. It's going to be so disheartening with the Phillies building up good vibes over a 5-game winning streak. They had a 4-game winning streak when they went into Los Angeles, and then they got swept on out of L.A. So now they got a 5-game winning streak, and the Dodgers are in town. It would really be it'd be a hitch in my giddy up. It'd be a hitch in my giddy up. If the Phillies lost this game badly, if the Phillies lost this series, oh God, the Phillies got swept in this series. Yeah, that'd be bad. But yeah, big game for the Phils tonight. Big game for the Phils. Am I on the right thing here? Yes, I am. Babs! Farzy, it's morning already. Look at that, Babs. It just flew by. Remember, after 2 or 3 years, when people praised Wentz almost in the same exact way, let's just play things out, not make up narratives. Babs, mirror of Wentz, I'm leery from the scars. Babs, 76ers make me feel sick. I'm with you there, Babs. Here's the thing. They're not parallel, but I agree with you that the narrative was still out there with Carson Wentz and how great he was, how much we loved him, Ginger Jesus and all that stuff. And then Nick, his backup, won a Super Bowl without him. And that was just the beginning of the end, man. That Super Bowl was the beginning of the end. And then the following year, Wentz is hurt again at the end of the year. Foles goes back in, and if that ball doesn't go through Alshon Jeffrey's hands in the NFC the divisional series, NFC divisional game, maybe they're back in the NFC championship. I got no doubt. and the ball goes through the hands of Alshon Jeffrey. Tough breaks, man. Tough breaks. But the saving grace in all of it is that this is not Carson Wentz. Each player is their own individual. Each situation is its own case-by-case basis. I just look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, and I just think he is the most mentally tough SOB that you could have at the quarterback position. Like, I don't look at anybody else going, well, that guy's more mentally tough than Jalen Hurts. He is the top of the class when it comes to mental toughness. Carson Wentz, and not so much. Somebody hit I meant to look this up. Where is Nate Sudfeld right now? Who did he sign? Is he with the Giants? He's with somebody. The point they were making is Nate Sudfeld, he's with the Lions. Nate Sudfeld is on an NFL roster right now, and Carson Wentz is not. That's hilarious. Anyway, thank you, Babs. Thank you, Kavai, there on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Let's go to the Farzy Show YouTube channel. April! What's up, April? The game was a wild ride, and it was a wild ride worth taking last night. I never felt like the Phillies were going to lose the game. Even when 8th inning happened, 9th inning happened, they got their runs, and Kimbrel looked terrible. It was like, they're not going to lose this game. They're going to win this game. When Harper smacked that baseball to open up the bottom of the 9th inning, I was like, they got this. They got this. Tigers are going to crumble. And they did. Dan Schwartz. What's up, Dan Schwartz? Good morning, everyone. These Phillies are better than the Nationals and Tigers. Sorry, too soon to say they are back, but that was a great win. Dan, I agree. Beating the Nationals and the Tigers doesn't make me go, they're a playoff team. No, you got to beat. Give me some hope here. Win 2 or 3 for the Dodgers. I double dog dare you. And then, oh, baby. Oh. Then the party's going to start. Oh, and then 3 or 4 from the Diamondbacks. Yes, please, and thank you. Dan Schwartz, they would have been a tragedy to lose that after the way Wheeler pitched. My first thought when they got their first run across the plate on that weird bunt by Short, right, was Wheeler's not even going to get the win. No hitter into the 8th inning. He's not even going to get the win. Like, that is such, as my grandmother would say, that's such a sin. That's such a sin. Good morning, crew. What's up, Sean Kilrain? Professor Dutch, what's up? If they could beat the Dodgers twice this weekend, I'll say the Phillies are almost bah. Just a BA. I like it. Kilrain, Kody Clemens comes through with the big-time hit. Good to see an underdog hero come through. I haven't checked it in a while, but Kody Clemens' stat of production as a starter, I'd like to see. I haven't checked that in a while. As a starter, he's been really good. As a starter, folks, he's been really good. I'm going to check that out in a second. Well, that's the wrong thing. Here's the right thing. Professor Dutch, good morning, everyone. Go Sixers. I really hope Wheeler is getting on a roll. Me too. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Jim, PJ just chimes in. Baseball! Hey, PJ, give me one margarita. All right, anyway. Dan Schwartz, 100% more pollen in the air. We know it's not the smoke affecting your sinuses since you usually bake the studio out before and after the show. Mark pushing buttons. Sorry, April. Yeah, sometimes I do push the buttons and I mess everything up. Dan, question. If you go to a strip club commando, what the hell? All right, well, you have my attention. Is that considered basketball freedom or just ball freedom? I was just wondering because we all know Harden doesn't care about basketball. Oh, Dan, that's so funny because later today I'm tweeting one of our new sponsors, Sin City. I'm tweeting out that you guys should go there for their happy hour. Sean Gillespie. So I don't know how to answer that question. One more thing. When they said Harden was torn between Houston and Philadelphia, we all misinterpreted it. He's literally torn somewhere between Philly and Houston at a strip club. Even right now, he's still there. The man can afford the jet to take him to 2 places. Dan Schwartz, sorry, can't help myself. Haven't had an opportunity to go all out in the chat in a while. What's up, Dan? Welcome. You're in rare form. Fine form today, says PJ. Sean Gillespie. Harden can own any strip club he wants with all that money. Well, you guys go to any gentleman's club or a burlesque bar, you guys should check out our friends there at Sin City. Sean Kilrain, we get our 4 starters pitching and playing like they have this past week. Ring the bell. Damn right. April's chiming in now on Harden. I'm now picturing Harden in front of the most wretched strip club that used to be across from the base on 611. Wow. I know the name. April, but I'm not going to say it because I actually knew the owner for a minute. The owner's son. I knew the owner's son for a minute. He was an intern with Big Daddy Graham for a little bit. The owner's son was. He was an interesting fella. But I have yet to be in that club. And April, as you know, as a kid, growing up in Doylestown, I had to be on 611 quite a bit. And I would pass that club. And I remember I was like, when I was a kid and we were going to practice, we were going to a game or something, and my mom or dad were driving, I'd be in the back with a couple of my buddies, a couple of my teammates, and I'd be looking over and we'd just look at it and be like, guys, one day. We'd be like in 8th grade and like we'd pass the club. One day. And then all my buddies have been there. I haven't been there yet. I got to go at least once. Right? Ray Fitzgerald, there's another reason I don't like giving these guys 10 to 13-year contracts. You'll be lucky if you get a little over half of the years that are going to be good in those deals. Bohm and Marsh should bat top 6 in the lineup. Ray, I 1,000% agree. I also agree with the 10 to 13-year contracts, but I will say this about I know this is true for Bryce Harper's deal, but by the end of his contract, like the last 3-4 years of the deal, very manageable, if not more than that. I'm trying to think of the deal off the top of my head. But with Bryce Harper's deal, you're talking about like $20 million for the vast majority of those final years, which by that time is going to be a bargain. You're not going to be paying for an MVP caliber player at that point in the contract. And I think Trey Turner's deal is also similarly structured in that way. I want to know that though before I just say that. Looking at Baseball Reference and his salary over the last couple of years of the deal, so much you got to scroll through. 23. Okay. Last 3 years of the deal are 23 million. So he'll be 35, 36 at that time. So far, you've gotten an MVP season. So far, you've got a World Series appearance. I think he still has a couple of good years left in him, 3-4 good years left in him. So, yeah, there's going to be maybe 2017, maybe 2026, 2027, 28, 29. You're starting to feel pretty terrible. But in 29, he's only making 23.5, which I know I say only, but that's a manageable deal. If you look over at the Trey Turner contract, and again, this is all to agree with you. I'm just saying it's not going to be that bad. Trey Turner's deal in the last couple of years of that contract, yeah, it's a little worse. And it takes him until he's 40. So $27 million pretty much all throughout the deal is the base salary. Starting, every year, $27 million. So, yeah, that'd be nice if he started doing, if he was better at baseball. That's make that Danny Tartable deal look like peanuts, baby. Peanuts. Dan Schwartz. Rob Thompson said he was super excited about the win yesterday. He has the same tone regardless of what he says. I just watched someone. All right, Dan. That's got too dark. But it's still, don't worry. I still find it funny. Professor Dutch, you don't go commando to the strip club. Thank you. Howie is not done. I see him getting Buddha. Man, Sean Kilrain, if he does that, good Lord, just throw the parade already. Oh, rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. Professor Dutch, giving the shout out to the Iron Sheik. That's beautiful. Jalen Hurts is not Carson Wentz. Understatement of the year. April, absolutely. April, yes, I do need to aim higher, but if it's your childhood fantasy, you kind of got to do it, right? Kind of got to do it is all I'm saying. Did I miss anybody? Dan Schwartz, they're 5 scars from Carson Wentz. Oh, Mihai Sanchez. Phillies need 2 of 3 versus the Dodgers. A win or 2 versus the Mets last week would have helped a lot now, especially since they're struggling. Didn't they lose on a walk-off? Yeah, Acuna hit the walk-off. Respect for Quiz Watkins. Put it in the work. Fly, Eagles, fly. I'm with you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Farzy, you're not the type to be in a strip club. I don't frequent them. But we have a sponsor of the show right now. The wonderful Sin City, baby. Wonderful Sin City. Have yourselves a good time. They have a great happy hour today, so don't miss out on that. Dodgers haven't been great this year, says Babs. You're not wrong, Babs. But they've still been a lot better than the Phillies, and they did sweep the Phils, unfortunately. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Ranger Suarez gets the start for the Phillies, looking to repeat his 7-inning, 1 earned run performance that he had against the Nationals. Michael Grove goes for the LA Dodgers tonight, 7:05 start time. He's coming off a rough outing, gave up 4 runs, all of them earned on 4 hits, 2 home runs, and 5 innings of work against the New York Yankees. He struck out 7, walked 0 in that game. Ranger Suarez, like I said, coming off that great start against the Nationals. Time to kick it up a notch, ladies and gentlemen. NBA Finals for this weekend. Holy pots and pans. What do we have in store for you? Can Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat come back to tie the series at 2 games apiece against the Denver Nuggets? Can they do it? We'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. We'll find out with Game 3 going on tonight, 8:30 in Miami. Well, Nikola Jokic get yet another triple-double, blah, 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 blah. Also, Tyler Hero still not cleared, but also hasn't been ruled out yet for Game 4 of this series, which is tonight, by the way. So that's what's going down there in the sports world. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are great, as per usual. I'll be back with you guys on the Jacob Media YouTube channel tonight for the Phillies postgame show. So don't miss out on that. Jim Hyden produced the program. Give me 1 margarita. Did a phenomenal job, as per usual. If you're not on TikTok, got to get on TikTok, folks. It's a good follow the Farzy Show while you're at it. Thanks to everybody that watched the show on the Jacob Media YouTube platform, as well as the Farzy Show YouTube platform, and everybody on the podcast. Thanks so much. We'll catch you guys tonight for the Jacob Media Phillies postgame show. I'll be with you guys for that. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Catch you guys tonight and then Monday as well. See you. Bye.